Welcome to Three Devs and a Maybe, the podcast series for beginner web developers and general web enthusiasts. Now, introducing your show hosts, Michael Budd, Fraser Hart, Lewis Keynes, and Ed Mann.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Three Devs and a Maybe, the podcast for web enthusiasts, PHP people, anything web basically. And I am joined today by two of my usual pals, Fraser Hart.
Hello.
Ed Mann.
Hello.
And today we have a very special guest. We have Lamin. How are you doing? How's things?
Fine, thank you.
Good. We're really glad to have you on the show, man. Thanks for coming on.
Glad to be here as well.
Awesome. So, I know you've listened to our podcast before, but I usually take this opportunity to go around the room and just see if anyone has anything interesting to tell from their previous week. So let's start with you, Ed Mann. How's your week been?
Hello, yeah, it's been really interesting. We had your surprise birthday on Saturday. We can't forget that, you know. Completely hook, line and sinkered you with that. You didn't have any idea, which was quite amazing.
We did. Unfortunately, I did turn 3-0 at the weekend. So, we had a bit of a do, a surprise do, as Ed says. So,
And can you confirm that you absolutely knew nothing about that? Because there was kind of speculation flying around that maybe you did, but you were too kind of nice to say.
Honestly, I had no idea. I thought like a few close mates, but I had no idea like some of the people who came down from... Lamin, you're from Manchester, right?
Yes, that's right.
So I'm originally from that way, and I had friends from Lancashire come down just for my birthday. So that was awesome and completely unexpected. And
I should have known you last week, you know.
Come down. That would have been amazing.
That would have been a free lift as well.
But then you would have had to have witnessed Ed Mann.
Here we go.
It was the best thing I've ever seen in my life. It was phenomenal.
He was in a pretty bad way at the beginning of the night, which didn't bode well for him. But
we played a drinking game, touching glass or touching.
You were
glass.
quite good at that, weren't you?
Yeah, I by the fact that I was drinking a lot. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, winning a game of drink. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. Oh dear.
Just so the listeners can actually understand the amazingness that actually went on. Basically, we're playing this game called Touch Glass or Touch Glass, as Michael's northern friends kept insisting. And the idea of the game is, or one of the rules of the game is, every time the drink comes around to you, if you have to touch the drink at all, you have to say touching glass or touching glass. And Ed couldn't quite get this concept, so every time the glass came around to him, like first thing you do, reach out, grab the glass, and like, what do I do with this? and then so he had to drink there, and then there was another rule that it was like you had to fill the glass before you put it back down on the table. So he'd basically touch the glass without saying touching glass. Oh, I've got to drink it now. So he drank it, put the glass straight back on the table. So he'd have to drink again, and this went on for a good couple of hours. But yeah, handle it like a champ.
Yeah,
I think he probably was too drunk to remember the words.
I woke up in the morning. We shared like a hotel room, me, Fraser, and Justin. And all I said was like, "How was I last night?" And you just said, "Oh, what was it? You were on form." And I was just thinking, "Is that a good thing to be on form?" Like I was like that drunk. Like I was like, "Did I do anything wrong?"
Yes.
Oh dear. But anywho, it was a good night. Good night.
It was indeed. So anything, have you done any tutorials or anything this week, Ed Mann?
You know what, I've been pretty relaxed this week, actually. I haven't released anything. I've got a couple in the pipeline, like some Unicode stuff, which is quite cool, like UTF-8 stuff and everything. But they're all kind of like in the working stage at the moment. Quite a bit of work, busy with that and stuff. So been quite busy, so I haven't been able to release anything. But hopefully in the next couple of days, you should see some stuff kind of trickle out onto the website. And
so it's a case of watch this space.
Actually, that's another thing. Actually, we did do, I did. I'm going to have to keep nagging you lot. The code kata for this week.
I've not done that yet, have I? No.
I was so sad. I Rot 13, Rotate 13. It's like a Caesar cipher, which is like one of the old school encryption methods, which is so bad, but it's quite fun just like as a kata to be able to see like different ways of doing it in PHP or another language. So it was quite fun. And I've had to change PHP bulletin board, back in the day, forums, like a couple of times now because of spam. It just seems.
Yeah, didn't we get a tweet from one of the developers of Flux asking how we got around spam? I think we just kind of dodged that
Yeah,
answer.
because
Like,
the way I got around it was I just deleted it and started
Yeah.
using a new one. But it's
Yeah,
amazing
you
you
use someone
think that
else's.
forums have been around for years, but still, like, I mean, the PHP ones, they're just, I don't know. I just don't know. There's none like latest, like they're all the whole drag and drop in, and you install it just by a zip file and stuff. There's no composerified version, which I kind of feel would be quite cool, or package managed one. So I don't know. I think there's a niche there that could actually be it's just needing someone to implement a good forum system, like without spam. And spam is just insane. Like you put up a forum, and like in a couple of hours, they've already crawled it, and they're just hammering you for users and just posting all horrible links and stuff in forum posts. So it's quite an interesting thing. You thought that we would have forums knuckled down, but no.
Nice. Yeah. Thanks for doing that, though. It's but like you say, there isn't that many good forums out there, is there? Like open source stuff.
It's a weird one and also like forums in general. Like I feel it's like kind of like I think it's a really good idea to have a forum. Because I know you can have like IRC and you can have like chat rooms and stuff, but I know you can keep logs of what happens. But the nice thing about a forum is it's kind of like a permanent, like a Stack Overflow thing where you can just go back to it, and and it's nice to have. Then you can have polls and all this stuff, and especially like with the podcast with picks and. Like what you want us to talk about, etc. So I think maybe seeing how it goes and just like slowly build it up.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, so if you're listening,
register. You want to. It's fun.
Yeah. And I'll do that, Carter, tomorrow. I'll try and make sure I do that.
Why'd you?
I'm looking at it now. It looks a bit complicated for me.
So, Lamin, how about you? You got anything you could tell us about, like something you've been working on in the last week, or anything like that, or anything? It doesn't have to be code-based. Anything in your private life, maybe you've been doing, or whatever.
Okay. Well, just last week it was my birthday, so I didn't get to do much.
Oh wow!
It's your birthday as well.
Happy birthday! Did you get as drunk as Ed did at Michael's birthday?
No, it wasn't even my birthday.
Unfortunately, no. He had more fun than I did. So.
Oh, cool! But you had a good time.
Yeah, I did. Just chilled around with my roommates, and we went out for a little drink. Nothing fancy.
Yeah.
As I said, I'm doing freelancing, so basically.
Okay. All right. Are you doing freelancing full time, or you do that on the side, or?
Semi full time. I'm a full time student, full time freelancer. So I split it.
The double. That means you have no time to do anything else. Yeah, definitely not enough time to have a drink then.
I tend to control my drinks. Or sometimes I just let go and just.
You definitely need to.
Yeah.
Well, Manchester is a very cool city. There's a lot going on there, isn't there? It's especially if you're into live music. I always found Manchester was a brilliant place to be. So many different places.
Yeah, it is.
Cool.
Especially for like exploratory music. If you just want to get out of your comfort zone, just go see different stuff. Recently, I haven't been going out to see live bands, but a few months back, so I have been, and I did get to see. They are an American band, but I don't know whether you heard of it. Sum 41.
Sum 41.
Oh yeah,
awesome. Back in the day.
Yeah, when they and that was the day I actually got drunk.
Enjoyed. Did you remember much of it then? I suppose it's.
I did remember the mosh pit that I almost got drawn into it. That's as far as I remember. But it was fun, at least.
Oh, that's awesome. And with the freelance stuff, have you got anything that you could tell us that you're working on, or is it top secret at the moment? Or
well, as of now, I am building like a new membership site for this tutorial thing that I'm doing on YouTube, because I've started recently doing some tutorials on EmberJS on YouTube. I don't know if you might have come across it. It's the username is like the Code Logical. So YouTube, stuff. So
I've got your YouTube profile up in front of me now. You've got like 108 videos that you've done by the looks of things.
I've actually got 2 channels.
Wow.
I've given you a subscribe.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Could do with more users. So that one is based mainly on general front end stuff and the jQueries and people who just want to get into basic simple stuff. And the other one is strictly single page app based. Right now I'm currently focused on Ember, but I plan to maybe get a partner or someone else to help me out, do some Backbone and Angular stuff. Experience in that. So if you guys are up for it,
well,
or anyone listening, just get in touch for that.
Yeah.
And so I'm building the membership site for that. I'm using Laravel to do that. And I really did enjoy the talk on Laravel that you guys did a couple of episodes back.
Cool.
Oh, Ed is the biggest Laravel fanboy in the world, so you're in the right place.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well deserved then. Because Laravel deserves all the fanboys you can get.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on. And I've been quite busy over the weekend as well. With there's this app that I'm launching with my friend that's slightly top secret. I can't go into it much.
Okay.
Yeah, but basically the idea is just a news delivery application.
Right.
It has quite an interesting algorithm behind it. Maybe at a later episode someday I might just tell you guys about it. If I don't suck too much that you guys don't allow me for another.
Oh, you're doing good so far anyway.
Really good. Well, that sounds awesome. Let us know when it's gone live, and then we'd definitely get you back on to talk about that. But I know it's top secret, so I won't ask you too many questions about it. But just out of interest, are you? Is it an Android app, an app? What's the word I'm looking for here? iOS app, or is it for both? Or
there's native apps in the development. So in the plan.
Right. Okay. Cool.
We just want to launch like a responsive website, choose add like an app for now, and then think about the apps for later. So
very nice.
For now, just the website, yeah.
Very nice. Cool. Well, that leaves Fraser Hart. Anything interesting to report?
Well, obviously, I was at your big 3-0 on Saturday night, and yeah, that was. I thought that was going to be a bit of a tough one because I spent the night before up in London playing cards till 7 o'clock in the morning.
Really?
Yeah. So I got home at. I got home about 7:30 or 8 o'clock. Got the first train back in the morning. Straight to bed, and then basically spent the day in bed, and then got up and got over to Faversham for your birthday. So that was I thought it was going to be a lot harder than it was, but it was good. The first beer went, and it was fine after that. And then got home on Sunday. Had a bit of a lay down again, and then got up and I don't know if I've been talking about this project I'm working on where I had to do this payment integration for a store that I've been building. And it's like I've done absolutely everything else on the project and just kept putting off this payment integration and putting it off and putting it off and putting it off because it's just one of these kind of like mental blocks. Like I just didn't want to touch it because I hate doing payment integrations. So I basically did about half of that on Sunday evening and then finished it off on Monday. So that's all done now, which is good. But they've come back with a few tweaks and stuff that I need to do. So the project's still ongoing, but I've done the kind of the horrible bit that I didn't even want to touch. So I'm happy about that. And then the last 2 days, I was saying to Michael just before we started recording, I've been working on Angular, which is something that I've been really wanted to get involved in for a long time. And then finally, I've actually managed to get it into my schedule where I can actually do some for a live project as well. So I'm only doing the very basics at the moment. So I've got the routing down and the controllers and the factory stuff for the stuff. It's certainly been in a couple of days anyway. It's always nice and good fun to start learning new stuff. So it's been pretty awesome.
Very nice. That sounds good. We'll have to get you two talking about Angular versus Ember, I guess, in a little bit. But,
no, please don't.
Fight.
That never ends well.
Well, I guess I should reveal right now then, because we haven't really mentioned it, but today's podcast, we're obviously just going to ask Lamin a few questions about his background and stuff, but we're also going to ask him a few questions on Ember because, like he said, he's got a load of videos, so maximum respect for you for that, on that kind of stuff. So, and we'll definitely put all that kind of stuff in the show notes as well. But we'll be talking about Ember and getting his review on that, I guess. So, we'll be doing that in a bit. But
how about you, Mickey? What were you up to this week?
Me?
I didn't even ask you.
Yeah.
Other than the depressing activity of turning 30.
Oh, you're not that old.
No, in all seriousness, I had an amazing night, and it was just great to hook up with you guys again because we don't get to do it that often. And just watching you for the night was just...
I hated you so much.
It was beautiful.
It
really
was.
wasn't. Oh,
do you remember the little incident as well where everyone sat around having dinner and it's kind of like, like room, like gentle conversation in the room. And then all of a sudden, like Ed's having a chat with Justin. And then I can't remember what the remark was that Justin said, but basically Ed screams out, F off.
Oh, did I really?
Word, yeah.
I
and the whole room goes
times.
quiet.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was a little
know that.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, again, these are the things I don't remember and I don't need to remember, but thanks for bringing them up now. Wow, now I feel
Great video of
embarrassed.
you as well.
Oh, dear. I do remember Mickey coming into the room and me just going, Mickey B!
Yeah.
I do recall
So
that. But it was great just having Northerners and Southerners in one room, especially during the drinking games. It was just brilliant. And
yeah, your friends excelled with the drinking games. Fair for like
they do. Yeah, that is their speciality. But that was an amazing night. And but other than that, what have I done? So I had that assignment on genetic algorithms that I've been banging on about for the past month or whatever, and I tried to rewrite that in JavaScript, which I kind of successfully done, but it's not quite generating the right results. But I've kind of put it up there, and I've uploaded Bitbucket on the idea that maybe someone will take it down and perfect it. The basic process is there, the basic flow. So I just need someone to have a look. And I think there's one particular method where like it checks to see checks what the fitness is of the solution, and I think that bit just needs tweaking. So if anyone wants to do that for me, that would be amazing, because at the moment it's a little bit out on the accuracy. But I did that, and then obviously in preparation for today, I've never played with Ember at all, so I kind of thought, well, I need to just learn a little bit so I could have some bare minimum information when I came on tonight. So I just did a little kind of blog post on that, I guess. But other than that, I'm just kind of trying to revise for my exams coming up at the end of May, and that is about it for me, really.
Oh, we should let everyone know where Lewis is as well.
Yes.
You knew about that, didn't you, Michael?
Did I?
I
He is at is it a Barry Manilow concert?
I think it was. Yeah, well, it's not so much Barry Manilow as it is a tribute. But
tribute, that's right. But I guess wild for Barry Manilow, doesn't he? Absolutely.
He is quite. Yeah, he was wearing that T-shirt on your birthday as well, Saturday night.
Yes, that's cool. Right. Yeah.
Oh, poor guy.
It's just a bit of a shame that we didn't actually make it to the karaoke bar in the end, because I know he was really referencing a bit. Yeah,
his rendition of Mandy it's like listening to Barry Manilow, isn't it?
It is genuinely good.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Hope you're having a wicked night, and say hello to Barry from all us.
Yeah, so Lewis will be back next week, hopefully with new merchandise.
Absolutely. So I guess this is our usual slot for hot picks and tweet of the week. If anyone's got anything, anyone got any nice juicy picks?
I've got a couple.
Okay, go. Fine.
Right. Okay. So the first is, I'll put this in the good old. There we go. The first one is, so it was quite interesting with the whole UTF-8 and Unicode thing. I really am kind of putting the notes together for a podcast on it. And because I do think it's a big issue and like a big thing in the web game for us, the fact that we just think, UTF-8, use that. But in PHP, because it's not supported out of the box in a sense with Unicode support, like things like Python 3 and stuff, you kind of have to take like stuff like, I can just assume that the string length, if I wanted to get a string length of a Unicode character, you would think, it would give me just one if it was one single one. But PHP kind of is a little bit hacky in the sense that it just says, how many bytes is it? So obviously Unicode, because of how big and different languages and stuff, they've kind of multi-byte character encodings. But I don't want to go too far into that. But this is a nice little library that I found out called Portable UTF-8. And what it does is it kind of fills in the gaps in, obviously, you don't want to be on a shared host, but sometimes you are. And what this does is it says, look, the only dependency you need is I can't find it out, but you don't need to. You can have it will replace and polyfill stuff like icon v and MB string if you don't already have it, but it'll give you all the functions you want, like trimming, what the string site length is, uppercase and characters, lowercase and characters, and doing it right for UTF-8. So it's definitely a good little library.
Yeah, I could have done with that like a month ago when you showed me that. That looks amazing. That's exactly what I needed. Sometimes finding these things, though, is...
well, the thing is, you always find it after the fact. After the fact, or after, sorry. Oh, dear.
That's very true.
Always find it after the fact, and, but then that, I suppose, that's development, unfortunately. So, but it just overdrives, I thought, text is easy, but now it's not, and there's a whole history behind it, and, so I'm going to try and bore you guys one episode, I'm sure, with a bit of talk about that, which would be quite interesting.
Sounds cool.
And I've got one other one. It's called Backtick, and I've been using this now for a couple of weeks. unfortunately, because I wasn't on the podcast yet last week, I couldn't pimp it, but it is pretty awesome. It's a really simple idea. Like, I'm sure in your Google Chrome or your Firefox, whatever browser, or Opera, because I know everyone loves Opera, you've got your extensions and stuff. So, you may have your Delicious extension to add things to Delicious, or, send a tweet out of a link. But what this instance does, it's kind of like Alfred on the Mac, where you can have like a quick launch thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but for the browser. So, and it's all done in JavaScript, which is awesome. And so what you do is, it's backticking. The idea is you click on the backtick button and it will come up with saying find next to command. And so you're on a page maybe, and you'll just type in send tweet, and it will actually then it will then send a tweet out with say the link of that page. But it's quite a cool way the that the guys built it, in that is that it's a Chrome extension, but all the plugins are just gists on GitHub. So they're just JavaScript, gists that then you can just plug in and do it that way. And I think that's kind of a cool way of being able to, so you're not actually syncing it down, you're just, getting them off GitHub, which I think is quite an interesting little way of kind of hacking and kind of, taking advantage of gists.
Yeah. Very nice.
I think that's it, unfortunately, for me.
They're your hot picks. Okay,
hot picks.
I'm going to ask Fraser in a second, but before I do, Lamin, I'm going to say to you, maybe we'll do this with all guests in the future, but so I'm not going to ask you for your picks of the week, but I'm going to ask you for your free favourite tools / frameworks / whatever you want, but free things you recommend to any kind of web developer.
Putting him on the spot.
Oh, well, that's...
I'm sorry, Lamin. It's just and your three best...
Well, I thought I'd mention it now, and then I'll come back to you in a minute to give you 1 minute to work that out. But
sorry,
I think one's obvious already. But
okay, I think I know where you're going with that. Cool. Fraser, did you have anything?
Not really. I used FunAwesome for the first time today. Is it FunAwesome? Actually, let me make sure that it is FunAwesome. Just before I go and plug something that I've not actually used. Yes, I did. I used FunAwesome today. It was pretty awesome. No, it's really good. Justin, I was going to say one of the designers, but everyone knows Justin. Justin put together a design using icon fonts from these guys, and it's just the first time I've ever used it. It's just really simple. You can import it from a CDN and just chuck them in your classes and you set. So it's pretty straightforward and good for a load of different fonts.
That's quite an interesting conversation. Just a little bit of a tangent, icon fonts. Taking advantage of fonts and just using the icons and stuff.
Oh, it's so genius, because they scale.
And they scale their vector. It's a very clever idea, and you see that it's happening quite a bit now, isn't it? You don't have your GIFs anymore and your PNGs. You just have a font that you can then scale up and down responsively. I think it's a really clever idea and kind of taking advantage of fonts.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure we have mentioned that in the podcast before, but I don't remember it at all. I'm just looking now. It looks amazing, actually. Very nice.
It's on Google Fonts or anything like that. FunAwesome thing.
I'm just looking now. Is that what it is? Is it like an alternative to like Google Fonts, that sort of thing?
It's kind of a different target, essentially, because obviously Google Fonts just gives you loads and loads of different fonts, whereas FunAwesome is one single font that's just got loads of different icons in there that you can use. And you can use them with the hex codes, or you can use them using classes.
Hello?
Content. Are we there?
I've got a bit of lag there.
Very much lagging.
I don't know if it's...
Hello.
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear.
It went quiet for a bit.
Yeah.
Can people hear me as well?
I can
hear you now.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. Right. Okay. FunAwesome looks
it really does. I've just literally... I've never actually seen FunAwesome before. I've seen just fonts that use this is cool.
Yeah, it's getting to the point of because obviously with CSS and it's as CSS has progressed and stuff and all these different techniques have come along, it's getting to the point now where you pretty much don't need to use images at all for any part of your layout, pretty much any part of your layout. And obviously with your logo, you'll need to use an image at some stage. But I remember when I first started creating websites, everything was an image. You had to cut everything out. And
image slicing tool. Was it
100%.
Export tool, and you just you cut it all out that way.
Exactly, yeah. And that's exactly how it was. And then these days, you don't need a single image, and it's pretty great.
Cool. I'll definitely look at that in the future.
Looks nice. I'm not a designer, but it does look good.
Same, yeah. So, have I given you suitable time to reveal your three favourite things? Lamin.
I've got so.
You think so? Yeah? Go for it then. So top one's going to be Ember, right?
Yeah, I'll just leave that off the list. So too obvious.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just take that as a fourth one.
Okay.
I'll just give three others.
Cool.
First one is CodePen by Chris Coyer.
Oh, you use CodePen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I use it a lot. Like, if anyone just asks me for any code snippets, I'm just saying CodePen straight off. That's what first comes to my mind. And it's quite a useful tool for like doing quick prototypes. Actually, recently I'm going to be using it a lot because I just recently signed up to SitePoint. Do you guys know that website? SitePoint?
I know of SitePoint.
Yeah. I asked them whether I could like write some for Ember stuff for them, and they just recently accepted. So I'm in the process of about to publish some articles for them. So I use CodePen for snippets. Yeah.
Yep.
So CodePen, that's my first. Is it? Can I call it a pick since you said it?
Yeah, that's fine. You can be
100%.
for you. It can be anything you want. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
It's guest privilege, so you're okay.
Cool. And secondly is it's a Chrome plugin called BuildWith. I'll just post in the link there.
BuildWith.
Yeah, not sure if you guys use it, but it's absolutely awesome tool. It's not a font, but it's still awesome. And you use it to sniff out like the technologies.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It tells you what framework they've used, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
I've decided that's pretty cool.
It's immensely useful. Like if you're curious, if you have a curious mind, because every beautiful website I see, I just want to know what's underneath.
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't work for some websites. I don't know why. Maybe they have some security to block it, but most of the time I find out that it works. So that's my second pick.
Yeah.
And the third one is Laravel plugin. It's called Way Generators by Jeffrey Way.
Okay.
Oh, yes. That's awesome.
It's immensely useful.
Yeah.
Can't even emphasize how much I use this tool. So like addition.
Jeffrey Way.
It's an addition on top of that.
Oh, yeah. Jeffrey Way's done so much for the Laravel community. It's just crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I watch his videos maybe a bit too much, but because I'm still learning Laravel and the whole framework world a bit. I'm not that good with it yet, but I'm dangerous enough, I can say.
So what's your background in terms of server side stuff? Do you have a lot of exposure to server stuff? You say you're just learning frameworks. Were you doing like procedural, or were you just hand coding previously, or was it, I say hand coding? That goes without saying, but were you still doing it? How were you handling stuff before? Or are you brand new to PHP in the server world?
Actually, no. It's just that I branched out from server side coding about 1.5 years ago. That's when I initially started out as a backend dev. Was doing a lot of XML stuff. Calling in web services, because I was working at this agency, flight traveling agency, and I did a lot of server side for them. So I started with vanilla PHP, if you want to call it that, as everyone else. And recently, I've been looking into frameworks. So when my bad code, I'm just doing codes here in the air. Bites me back. I'm trying to structure my PHP now, so that's why I'm looking into Laravel. And I touched on CodeIgniter a couple of years back when I first started uni. So CodeIgniter was my first experience with an MVC framework. But now I'm heavily invested in Laravel for backend and of course Ember for front end. So
awesome.
Those are the two that I mix and match in any way. Yeah. And sometimes I talk on Knockout as well on the front end, but not much. So yeah, that's my experience with PHP. I'm still learning though. I'm nowhere near as good as you guys, I'm sure.
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't say that. You're probably infinitely better than we are.
Yeah, you'd probably be sick if you saw our code. Well, talking for myself, maybe not Fraser.
That's the beautiful thing about like doing back-end coding anyway, because no one can see it. Like if I'm sitting there writing bad CSS or bad front-end code, people can instantly see what I've written.
What you end up doing is just minifying it, and it looks alright. Like,
no
one's going to do it. You're
point.
obfuscated, don't you? You're like, yeah, no one sees the code now. It's like, you will never see what I did there.
It's like, get in Uglify.js.
Uglify.js.
So, how did you get into web development then, or programming in general?
I'd say, okay, well, programming, I started with back when I was, because I'm not natively from the UK, I'm from the Gambia. Yeah, there's this mini college back home that started doing like international courses in programming, because ever since I was in high school, I always knew I wanted to do something related to technology, but I wasn't sure a lot. So I joined this college and did a bit of Java and object-oriented stuff, slightly PHP for a month, and then I had opportunity to come over to UK. So I didn't even finish that course because I was so happy to just do computer science. So came here and first year project, and we had some pain points with it because we were just thrown into. Just imagine you've never done PHP and you just been told to use a framework. That's the first.
Oh yeah, completely agree with that. Yeah, it's 2 learning curves in one, and then
yeah. And I mean, now thinking of it, I'm like, MVC totally makes sense to me. But at that time, I was like, why do I have to do this? Like, just headers and stuff, and it was quite hard. So that pain point actually was the motivation to say, hey, I want to be better at this. Like, I just don't want to stop here because the project wasn't even complete. So that first year project was the reason why I had interest in web development. So after that first year, I said, hey, I want to do freelancing. So I just told my friends, just give me any project you want to do. I'll do it for you for free.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. They actually were meant to pay, they said they'll pay me later, but I was so thrilled to just do the project for them. But I didn't even ask for money later.
Wow.
They just ended up getting me like a hard drive, and I was happy with that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And after there, it's been, as they say, probably cliche, but the rest is history. I've been trying to get myself better ever since.
Yeah.
I got lucky. I was introduced by another friend of mine to some company that she was working with, that traveling agency company.
Yeah.
And that's where I did most of my back-end work for almost a year. So I was really, really doing a lot of like procedural.
Yeah.
So XML, everything related to that.
Okay. You said when you did your college course, so was your first language Java then, was it?
Yes,
it was.
Java.
What do you think of Java then? Because I have this debate with Ed all the time about Java. I love Java, but I'd be interested to know what your thoughts on it are.
Well, I think if anyone asks me, I want to get into programming, right? And I am learning Java.
Yeah.
I'd tell them, carry on.
Yeah.
But if anyone is telling me I want to get into programming, what should I learn? I'll tell them, go do JavaScript.
That's really interesting because I've heard other people say that before, and I do agree with you. I completely agree. Yeah.
Because like the reasons are like Java teaches you. I'm actually really grateful for Java a lot because it taught me like some really good concepts. I am glad I didn't start with PHP because I would have thought that was the be all and all.
Yeah.
So easy to start with.
Yeah.
But it's nothing wrong as long as the bottom point is like it really doesn't matter which language you start with as long as you just love programming in general, which I am so thankful that I do. I think it wouldn't have mattered even if I started with PHP because nowadays I don't like writing Java because it's like the whole
the strictness and the
exactly.
the
whole strictness just gets on my nerves. Even C# is slightly dynamic in some sense, but Java is like strictly strong type, so that's why. But Java is a brilliant language. I think a lot of languages have borrowed a lot from it, especially PHP. So that's my point on Java. It's a brilliant language, but I don't see myself writing any more Java.
I guess you can learn a lot about object-oriented programming through Java. that's where it's really good for learning, I guess. Maybe not so much programming in general. Maybe like you say, maybe something like JavaScript is really good for that, and there's a lot less setup when you're first starting out. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think with JavaScript, it's everywhere. I think that's where it wins. I think it wins because JavaScript's everywhere. You just need a browser. Pretty much, and you know, everything's got a browser, and your TV's got a browser. You know, it's you know, it's like anything, you know, and you think, oh yeah, I've got JavaScript in there, and you know, it's ECMAScript, and it's the standard, and whatever, you know, engine they're using, which is probably WebKit open source stuff. So you know what version of JavaScript you're going to get. So yeah, it's kind of and then you think with like, I mean, the thing with Java that gets it, that's still, I mean, it will be around for a long time, is the JVM. It's awesome. Yeah. And it's so fast and so and like been so battle, you know, tested. It's been hit with everything, you know, all the types of cases, and you know, the language on top of it really doesn't matter. Absolutely, you know, as long as you know the fact that Java will stay around just for the fact that the JVM and Java will be kind of the specification language that is, you know, the language, you know, for it. But really, you could use other languages and other paradigms and stuff.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So should we ask Lamin then to introduce Ember, I guess?
I'll be up to that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Is that all right, Lamin? I keep putting you on the spot here, but is that all right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I just want to make like probably first two declarations for anyone listening. First, I'm not an Ember expert. I have a lot to learn. If anyone is an Ember expert, is the two creators, Yehuda Katz and Tom Dale. I am very, very far behind those two.
I love that. Yeah, it's saying that. Sorry, Yehuda, the guy, his blog is awesome for JavaScript stuff.
Right.
Yeah. He's got some really good articles on JavaScript stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, really knows his stuff, and I think actually he's part of the Rails community as well.
Yeah. So he's awesome. That he can do both. It's just like, oh dear.
Nice.
And jQuery.
Yeah.
Most people don't know he's only got the jQuery team as well.
Wow, he's done everything. That's amazing.
Yeah, he's done everything.
Cool.
Okay, so there's that, and okay, so back to Ember, right?
Yeah, sure. So a little introduction to what Ember is, and then I guess what you like about it.
Okay, so first of all, Ember is a single-page client-side framework, as the authors say. It's not a library; it's a framework. They have some videos on YouTube explaining why they said that, but we're not getting to that probably today. And it helps you make like really interactive applications on the web. Like for example, an application that could be made with Ember possibly is your Gmail application. If you notice that on a traditional website, they behave slightly different in that Gmail behaves more like an application as opposed to a traditional web page. So that's the kind of stuff that Ember targets to make easier to build for. And so in short, that's what Ember is. There's a whole lot more underneath it that I still don't understand. But yeah.
Okay, and so what do you like about Ember? I guess if you've played with other stuff, what gives it the edge in your mind? Okay,
Ember has a lot of conventions, and I actually never understood why the Rails people were like all screaming convention over configuration. I'm like, they're just probably talking. I mean, what's this all rambling about?
I completely agree. Yep. I was there.
I just thought like they were just some fanboys of the framework because, you know. Yeah. But once I started with Backbone and started building an application with it, and I got stuck at a certain point, and that's when I reached managing like my models on the front end. It started becoming a bit stiff because I think now they have something called Marionette. I'm not quite sure, but I think it tends to make that easier. And there's some frameworks that came out for Backbone, but at the time that I was using it, there wasn't anything closely really solid to help manage the models on the client side. So I left Backbone strictly for that reason. But everything else about it, it's pretty okay. Even though you get to write slightly more code than the other two frameworks, major ones.
Yeah.
Angular and Ember. You barely write code with Ember anyway. But I do work though, so. And yeah, so I moved to Angular afterwards. Had a bit of experimentation with it, but I kept hearing about Ember popping up here and there. I like to experiment a lot, so anytime I just dig into like the whole this versus this versus this, Ember seems to just pop up, and there's always this guy who's like, you have to give Ember a try. Once you do, you wouldn't want to use the other two frameworks. I said, hey, I can't ignore this statement. I just have to try it. I just have to try it out. Same thing I did with C#. I had no reason to use C# because I was pretty comfortable with PHP, but I just tried it and it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I tried Ember, and as they say, it was actually quite hard at the beginning. Nothing made sense to me. I was like, why do they have like the router? I mean, like they kept talking about the router. I'm like, what's this router thing?
Yeah.
But actually, it does make sense a lot once you get to grips with it. And the reason why I like Ember a lot is because of the conventions they have in place. You can pick up an Ember app, right?
Yeah.
From that someone else has written, and it will look 70% ish and upwards exactly like the ones that you've written previously, because of all the conventions that they've put in place. And one of them is like the controller. You know where exactly it is, so you can map out. You can enter a URL and know which controllers are dedicated to it, and you know which templates to expect in terms of names, just by following the conventions.
Yeah.
And you can override most of this stuff, but it doesn't make it easy for you to override stuff, because the creators of Ember believe that they have done enough research that a lot of the conventions they put in place, they put it there for a reason, basically. And it's not just because we want to be key and we know the best way. And they actually do a good job of explaining why some of the conventions are there. And one of them is like the routes and controller associations. Like in Angular, when you I haven't used it for quite a while, but the last time I used it, when you define a route, you have to define the controller and give it a name. You can basically have any controller name with any route. You can have a controller called apples and have another route called oranges. I know that's been too used as an example, but yeah. But with Ember, you have a route called articles, right? You will have another, you will have a controller called articles. Exactly. If you don't create a controller, Ember creates a controller in the background for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just those conventions are just, I don't even know how to really emphasize that, but it just makes it a hell of a lot easier. You don't even think about the framework, basically. Yeah. As you're working with Ember, all you're thinking about is your domain specific code instead of the framework gets out of your way. And that's a really, really good part of Ember. And that's one of the...
I suppose that makes for manageable code, doesn't it? It makes for code that can be managed later on by someone else, as you were saying, because people know the conventions. It makes it a lot better because, as you say, like if you've got apples and then someone's saying oranges, and it's because it's preference for them. As long as they know and they've got a clear way, this is how the Ember way. It makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that comes down to, do you know we were chatting about CodeIgniter versus Laravel, like you going back to the routing thing there. That's similar to a point that I think we all brought up. That's a very good point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And currently I'm playing with Angular, and it does do it, I guess, the Laravel way, where you have to specify your view and you specify your controller. Whereas I guess Ember, it sounds like you have to do it the kind of the CodeIgniter way, which is like you specify your route and then that dictates where the other parts are. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Can I ask a quick question, actually? And I am a complete noob when it comes to Ember, and I played with Angular for maybe like a couple of days, but I remember when I used Angular, like you could literally list all your dependencies. So you'll say, well, I need this, and this, and it loads it all in for you. Whereas when I was going through the tutorials with Ember yesterday, I literally had like a script file for my model, a script file for this, and I ended up with about 10 script files, which I know obviously I could have minimized. But is there a way of doing that in Ember as well, where you say, well, look, I kind of expected Ember to like load in the model file for me. I don't know, but is that possible?
Okay. Actually, I was watching a video by Yehuda and Tom a few weeks back, and they actually addressed that same issue about the dependencies that you just mentioned, right? And their point was, Ember, as I said, like you noticed that you had a bit of friction there when you wanted to access anything from anywhere. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But with Angular, it makes it easy for you. And this is not a stab at Angular. I mean, they obviously have a good reason why they did it that way, but there's always an argument against something. You know?
Yeah, of course.
Negative, but in this case, I'll stick with the negative.
Yeah.
There's a lot to like about Angular. But the Yehuda's case against the whole dependency injection in Angular was that why do you need to access anything from anywhere? Basically, what he's saying is it makes it easier for you to begin with because you have this thing called scope in Angular and you can inject it into almost anywhere, and you have these services you can inject to anywhere else. It doesn't restrict you. So your application grows to let's say 100 files or 200 files, right?
Yeah.
And you have this thing injecting into everywhere, everything's injecting into everywhere. So there's not like a predefined part of what can be injected into what areas.
Sure.
Yeah. So then now when you say, okay, where this dependency, I want to remove it. What can access it? Like what's going to break when I remove it? Obviously you need tests. But yeah, but first you have to think about where is this being accessed in, because Angular lets you inject it into everywhere else. But with Ember saying, no, I believe that this thing can only be accessed in this area. So looking at some dependency, based on the conventions of Ember, you will know where it's accessible because Ember doesn't let you just throw it into anywhere. And during all my time developing with Ember, I haven't had any frictions to say, hey, I want to access this, but I can't. Yeah. And actually, Ember has a dependency injection container, but it's not exposed to you when you start working with Ember because they feel like most of the times you don't need it. That's why you don't hear a lot of people talking about the Ember dependency container, but it does have it. And actually, I have an article pending for that as well. But you wouldn't hear about it a lot of the time because you don't need it most of the time.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's.
It's interesting, like you say. There's always pros and cons to everything, isn't there? So. Yeah, that's very cool. Anyone else got any questions they want to fire at Lamin then about Ember at all? Or is this a good time to switch to Fraser actually and just ask you a few questions about Angular, I guess, how you've got on with that?
Yeah, go ahead.
My turn now.
Yeah, like I say, I'm only a couple of days into Angular. I am loving it, and I think that's partly because it's just something new to get my teeth into. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. But and I've not done anything too complex yet, but there was a video that I spoke about a couple of weeks that I've been over a couple of times, and I've followed some other tutorials. So I'm basically at the point where I'm creating routes and controllers, and then feeding into the controllers with factories and stuff. So it's kind of good. And I was kind of struggling on getting some data into my factory through a JSON call, and I was just getting all kinds of errors. That was something actually that I don't know if it's something that you've experienced, Lamin. The error messages that pop up in the console for Angular are just horrific. Like, if it seems like if I do something, especially with this instance where I'm trying to do the AJAX request to pull in the JSON, like some of the error messages that come back are blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks of just illegible stuff, and it's really kind of hard to debug, which is something that I've been finding. I don't know if it's something that I'm doing wrong or if it's something that's inherent with the frameworks or with Angular in particular. But yeah, the error messages are not helpful.
Well, I have things to say on that. Hello.
I can hear you.
Can anyone else?
Yeah, sorry, mine seemed to cut out there.
Yeah.
Okay. So shall we just carry on?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, we'll let it out.
In terms of debugging, I haven't had much experience with Angular, but from many people I've talked to, pretty much same story that you just described.
Yeah.
But with Ember, when you're dealing with like the server side, because Ember has this thing called Ember Data, and is pretty much, from what I've seen, it's pretty much like a wrapper around jQuery. So they have like these custom errors that they've predefined for you to make it useful. So they just don't throw out the jQuery errors for you.
Right.
Yeah. So I find that it's very easy to debug Ember when I have issues.
Okay, that's interesting. I might. Well, I still want to check it out anyway because I want an excuse to get the hamster sticker on my laptop that I keep banging on about because I don't really like the logo for Angular. Even though
everyone loves the hamster.
I know the hamster's phenomenal. Like Angular's got nothing. They kind of say it's like a superhero emblem, but I'm not convinced. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think Ember will soon write out the hamster juice. So
yeah. And how do you find that? How do you find the community around Ember as well? Because the thing that drew me to Angular over Ember was the fact that if you go on Stack Overflow, and let me have a look at the moment. Like, yeah, if you go on Stack Overflow, I think there was like 10,000 questions tagged Ember. Yeah, there's 10,000 questions tagged Ember, and let me go back to Angular and see how many have got Angular. Yeah, there's like 35,000 tagged with Angular at the moment, which was the big draw for me because if I did, and inevitably I am coming across hurdles and I will come across more as is standard anyway. Yeah, I felt a bit more secure knowing that there was a bigger community around Angular to turn to in case of need.
Okay. Here's the deal with that. That has two ways of thinking about it. It's either Angular has a lot more people. Obviously, there's a lot more people riding on the Angular bandwagon at this time. And the second way of looking at it is probably
a lot more people are getting problems.
More people having issues with Angular than there are with Ember. But I don't think that's the case. I think it's probably because there's more people using Angular.
Okay.
That's what I think. So, but from what I've noticed on the Ember community, pretty much people are easily on the same page when you're looking for help. Like, you rarely have someone talking about this and then this person just interprets it wrongly because there's like strict way of doing things.
Okay.
So I'm not sure how Angular and the community works. I've been to a couple of meetups in London for Angular before I started using Ember. And it was actually pretty encouraging. If I was still using Angular, I'd still be going to that meetup. But that's the point right now. But I said both communities are really strong and helpful. So you can easily find help on both communities, I think.
Okay.
Pretty much maybe less in Ember, but it's pretty much easy to find help. Yeah.
Well, I suppose. Sorry.
Yeah. So,
I was just what is the most mature of all the frameworks? I mean, because. Is Ember more mature? I don't know because I know it hit one like in September time. I think wasn't it September time last year? Yeah. Hit version 1.
Yeah, around that time.
Yeah, so I was wondering like what is the because I think like because you got Backbone which was started I think it was like 2011 or so was like the time and it kind of have come around and then I'm wondering like what's the most mature like framework of the lot that you would think was Angular more mature than Ember or
I honestly the answer is I don't know, but I'll take a guess. So right, and my guess is it's Backbone and followed by Angular, because a lot of people say like Backbone because Backbone's community is really huge. It's big.
And because it's so flexible, isn't it? Because then anyone can kind of do what they want with it.
It's like I don't know. If when I talk to single page application topics, Backbone must come up. So actually, I did apply for a job and they asked for Backbone. I was like, but I did. I have no issues working with Backbone, but if I can convince them to move to Ember, I'd do it. But it doesn't really matter though. It's all trying to solve the same problem anyway. So. So I'd say Backbone is more mature than followed by Angular and then Ember. Say that.
Can I ask you a slightly different question? Because this podcast really primarily is for like beginner developers, people just getting into it. And you were quite openly saying before about how like when you first getting into MVC, like I think every one of us, it was really screwed your head and it's hard to understand. How long? I mean, when you started getting into Ember, how long did it take you to really kind of understand it? And what's your tip to anyone who like starts playing with Ember and they just can't get anything to work, basically? Was that a coherent question? I don't know. Did that make sense?
No, yeah, it's fine actually. Okay, the thing with Ember is, right, you have to take I don't know whether this is a good incentive, but you have to take a slight leap of faith.
Yeah.
And just say, hey, these guys, they like look at the guys behind it and look at the work they've done with jQuery and Rails with Yehuda, right?
Yeah.
That's how I looked at it, and I was like, if Yehuda is a big part of the the Rails community, and Rails seems to have a lot going on for it right now. Like Ember is a sure bet to go with. But secondly, as well, I'd say if you don't have any pain points with your current framework right now, there's really no point to make the jump. But if you're searching for a new framework, I'd say go with Ember, because you won't be disappointed. A lot of people think like Ember is a bit forceful in terms of the conventions, but it just makes you hard to get out of that convention. But it's really flexible. It has this thing called Ember data for making server calls. It's really, really good. But if you don't want to go that route, you can use jQuery with Ember straight off, just like Angular does. In my case, like as I'm sure, like a lot of people digging into the APIs can get a bit scary. And the website actually has a really good documentation. There's some guides on the top level pages of the website, but once you've realize that you want to do a lot of stuff, but you're not sure exactly how, there's a link on the Ember website. It's for the API, so it's heavily documented. And I'm not actually the best JavaScript programmer, but I actually do sometimes dig into the source code to have a look of Ember. So that's how well written the Ember framework is. So I said, if you have any issues and you want to know how to do stuff, just dig into the API and start poking around. And I'm not going to lie to you, it will be hard at first, but once you've got past that 1 or 2 months of hurdles, once a couple of things really click in, after that, everything just makes sense, really.
Yeah.
It's because of the conventions, obviously. Like, it's hard to get your head around it, obviously. It's always hard to buy into someone else's way of doing things.
Yeah.
But with Ember, once it clicks in, nothing else changes. That philosophy sticks, and looking at someone else's code will pretty much look almost exactly as your code, except that the business logic is different, but the structure will be exactly the same. So I say just have a look at the docs. Don't be scared if it doesn't make sense. Just Google what that means. That's my advice.
I think that's really good advice.
Yeah.
The other question I was going to ask you, have you ever played with Dart.js at all?
Dart.
Yeah.
Ironically, 2 weeks back, I was looking at this guy. I forgot his name. There's this guy on YouTube who does a lot of advice on web dev, and was giving some. I'll give you the links so you can show notes. And I had a look at it because I was thinking maybe I could write in Dart and just compile to JavaScript.
Yeah.
But having looked at it, I think I might just wait a little bit more, so maybe the community just catches on and a lot more support becomes available.
It's really in its infancy, isn't it? I think and touching on what Fraser was just saying about support and stuff. There's not a lot at the moment, I guess, but it's interesting. And the other thing I was going to say was me and Ed were talking about this before the show, but and he kind of basically shot me down and slated me. But
ouch! Sorry.
We were just. I was guessing. I was saying really the reason that I've not used these tools more often is quite often I just feel like I can't justify bringing in this kind of framework for the small projects that I build. I mean, would you say that you would only use Ember if you're building a full-on web app, or do you see is there a requirement for your everyday kind of like a brochure website or something like that? Would you use it for that, or what sort of thing would you justify using it on, I guess?
Okay. For a brochure type website, like if it's just a site to show information and sell maybe some services that will probably never change, I say either stick with static HTML or go something like WordPress. Ember wouldn't suit you there for two reasons. One, you'll have an not necessary development cost, because it takes longer to build single-page apps than just a regular traditional app. And secondly, SEO. It takes a lot of effort to make sure your website appears in search results for deeper pages. Actually, I have launched this a website a month back, and I have yet to work on the SEO part of it. It has some content in it, but that's some extra stuff. If it was a WordPress website, I wouldn't even have to worry about it. I'll just slap on WordPress SEO plugin, and that's it. But with these single-page apps, you will have to do some work.
That's a really interesting thing I hadn't really thought about, because I know with Ember it has support for your URL changes, doesn't it? When state changes and the routes change and stuff. But in terms of like Google crawling your site, how does it do that? Do you have to manually? I wouldn't have a clue how to. Is that all in the sitemap or?
Basically, when Google crawls your website, you know the part that says hash and anything that comes after that.
Yes.
Google doesn't see that part of your website. Because it doesn't read JavaScript, and I believe that's mainly JavaScript related in some sense.
Yeah.
So that's actually can work without JavaScript, but the content that shows up on your website is generated with JavaScript, and the Google crawler, if my sources are right, doesn't like read JavaScript and doesn't execute it. So there are ways around that, and I think there's something called PhantomJS that you can generate your contents for your dynamic content and then store them in HTML pages. So when the Google crawler comes into your site, it just reads the pre-generated HTML that would have previously someone else coming in through the browser will see.
That's very cool. That's very. I was about to say, like, you could actually, just kind of like run like PhantomJS, and there's a couple of Java like Rhino and stuff running it, and being able to get the static, because it would be so much work for Google to process a web app, and it would be a lot of work.
Yeah, but I'm not going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if they have something in the background. They're preparing something for that.
Especially however they are with it as well themselves. It would be that they would know what they need to have and search for.
Yeah. Because I think even I don't know, but YouTube behaves sort of like a single page app in some sense. I don't know.
That's true. Yeah, because when you do search results and then you click and it will automatically, you just get pushed state on it.
Yeah.
So so they must.
And it's crawlable as well. YouTube comes up in search results.
Yeah.
So there must be either Google is working on something to make JavaScript apps crawlable, or they have heavily optimized YouTube. It must be either one of them two. I hope it's the former, because then it means that I won't have to do much work to get it done. But that's the story behind it.
Okay, well, it's Google, isn't it? There's going to be a team working on that, I'm sure. If they're not already. So, Fraser, have you been working on a quiz for us?
I kind of got carried away with not. But I can do some CSS ones off the top of my head.
That's always CSS with you.
That's the thing, because that's the only
I've not done any for like 3 years. It's
Ed can talk about like everything in depth, and the only thing that I can actually kind of coherently maybe keep up with him on is CSS. So it's
okay.
Let me think. So, all right. So, say on a hover, right? Okay, this is going to go through. I'm going to go through all of these. So, Lamin can start if you'd like. Would you like to start? Mm-hmm. Give you the guest privilege. So, I'm going to do a short quiz. Right. So, say you have a button, and on hover, you wanted to have a nice transition. That's a little keyword there for you to answer that, where it moves 10 pixels to the right. Only on hover, and it does it. It does it nicely. How would you do that in a single line of CSS?
Am I allowed to use Sass?
No. Only if you compile it.
Mean. Only if you compile out the compiled source, please.
Oh man. Okay. I think I might have to Google that.
No Googling allowed. We can come back to you. So let's go to Ed.
I'm lost. I mean, I do all my work with Sass, so it's up for me.
Yeah, I'm the same. I do everything in less, but yeah, occasionally an occasional project will crop up where it's, I have to do it in CSS. But Ed, what do you reckon anyway?
So you want to so on the A tag, you would then say transition, and then you'd say what the transition was, like the speed and stuff.
Okay,
then,
so how do you declare that transition?
Oh, why are you making me do that, man?
Because
transition : ease in and out is the one I remember doing.
Well, it depends what kind of animation you like.
I like easing it now. There we go. And then on the A hover tag, you then do the actual move, and then mysteriously through CSS3 magic, it would do the effect.
Oh no, you've missed a couple of bits. You're sort of there, but you've missed.
Bugger.
Yeah, you've missed. Michael, would you care to expand on what Mr. Ed's just said there?
Wouldn't have a clue, but I just wish we were doing this quiz on Saturday night. That would have been a lot more fun. But
with drinking penalties.
I'm afraid I don't have a clue. Sorry.
Okay, Lamin, do you want to have another stab?
Yeah, sure. Just have like transition colon, and then the property you want to transition.
Yep, that's an important bit.
And then you just put in the time in seconds. Is that correct?
Yep, pretty much. Yeah. So between the two of those, so I do like you'd have your easing as well if you wanted to play with that. So it'd be transition. Say for instance, 1 second easing out, or 1 second easing out left, or margin left, or whichever property it is.
Oh yes, because you want all, and then because I always do all because I'm really
that's the thing. Oh, yeah, I'm lazy with that as well.
Yeah,
it's so much. It's like three characters.
We are guilty of that as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm always just like just allow everything.
Yeah.
Then it messes up something else you don't want it to.
Absolutely, yeah. And then you start thinking, why is he doing this? And it's one of those ones.
I forgot that. Yeah,
I know. Right, Ed, have you got a question that you can throw at us?
I actually do. All right,
okay,
so this is a PHP one. Okay, I've been yabbing on about it for about a week now because I didn't know it before and it really annoys me. That's what I love about PHP. An alias. There is an alias in PHP for the function implode. What is it?
Oh, you told me this the other day.
Oh.
So you've got explode, which explodes. You've got implode, which implodes it, if we're very aggressive, but there's an alias for it, which makes more sense. In other languages, you would definitely think, oh, this is why. Python is one, I'm going to say, right. But so yeah, it's an alias, and I've started using this quite a bit now, and it makes more sense than implode, which is so aggressive.
I like the word implode, though.
Oh,
I do.
It's too aggressive. No, this word makes more sense, though.
No, visually, like implode, explode, you got explode, they go away from each other, implode, they come in.
They come in, yeah.
But then split, surely split makes more sense than explode. I want to split on that instead of explode on it.
Oh, is it? Oh.
Yeah, so you got your split, and then... so
join. Is it join?
Boom.
Boom.
Is it join?
Yeah, it's join. Yeah, it's...
Oh, I had that in mind. I was like...
It's crazy. Yeah, there's an alias. It's been in there for God knows how many years now. And yeah, join. And you can use it the same as implode. It's just an alias. And it makes more sense than implode. It really does.
Yeah, so why is that not more widely used? Is it just because implode's more of a sexy word?
Yeah, I really do. I think because of the explode, the fact that you've got explode and implode, and because this sounds really sad, but because it's the same character length as well. Everyone developers, we all lining up and everything. It's joy. Yeah, so join, and I've started using that, and it just makes from other languages. If you're starting to dabble around in other languages, it makes more sense. Join. I'm joining on that, and you use it the same. The actual parameters are the same. Then implode. It's just an alias for it. So
yeah, it's not sexy though.
It goes all the way back to PHP 4 as well. I never knew this.
Really?
It's insane. Yeah, absolutely insane. It's just, again, it's one of those things, because even in tutorials and stuff, all you see is the implode. You never see join, so...
Yep.
Oh, that's amazing. Thanks for that.
Still going to keep using implode, though.
Well, I thought that. I've actually started using join now, just to be annoying. Just to be like, oh, didn't you know about the alias? God, PHP 4, God, you don't know anything, Oh, dear. How about you, Mickey? If you must have a question, go on, a random thing.
I'm trying to think of a random question. I'm just looking through now. I was trying to make it related as well, but
I'll do one. I'll do one more in PHP for this week. So if I go, a integer in PHP is either 32 bits or 64 bits based on your architecture of the system.
Yeah.
If you hit over that though, what does it become? Does it become 0 or does it become a float number?
Sorry, say that again. Oh, I wasn't listening.
So, an integer in PHP, or a long as they call it, so it's 32 bits or 64-bit based on your CPU.
Yeah.
If you go over the limit, the max limit of a 32-bit number or a 64-bit number, does it become 0? So it says, well, we don't have a clue, or does it become a floating point number?
Are they the only two options?
No, the only two options. They're the only two options. And I'm going to say Fraser first.
I think it will become a floating point number because it's loosely typed anyway, isn't it? So
I like that. Lamin?
I'd go with the floating type.
And Mickey?
You know what? I seem to think that if it was in C, which it would boil down to, I'm going to go for the floating point as well.
Yeah. You're all right. It does. It becomes a floating point number. It's this whole thing because it's actually funny because we had a really nice email from someone talking about arbitrary precision numbers in PHP and talking about BC and also the fact that PHP doesn't deal with numbers that have any length. You can only have a finite length of 32 or 64, and the fact you have to kind of be a bit hacky and stuff with strings and stuff. So yeah, that's a really sad geeky question, but
nice.
Boom.
Okay, I've got one which is Ember specific.
Ember.
Yes.
Lamin, here we go.
Lamin's knocking this one out the park.
I can feel some heat coming this way.
No pressure.
Okay, I have a class. Oh, sorry, a class.
Class, yeah.
Okay, well, actually, let's go back a step. I have an application called app, and then I have a class which is called person. So to make that, I have app.person equals ember.object.extend, and then I set some fields, whatever, and some methods. How do I then make an instance of app.person? Say I want to make an instance called ed. How do I do that? I should say who gets to go first, shouldn't I? I'm going to make you go last, I think, because you'll probably know. But let's go for... we'll go for Ed.
Not know,
It was a poorly worded question, so probably not. But Ed.
All right. Okay. So there's two ways you could do it in theory. Right. You use the new keyword, but I think probably what they've done is you do .new. So you use a function on the actual singleton. It'll be the it's a function on the object. So you'll do then whatever the object you created, such as what was the object?
So I've got an object which is person.
So you do person.new maybe, and that's a function. Cool, I think.
So close.
So over to Fraser.
I will say new person. Then
that's what you'd expect, to be fair, isn't it? But you're wrong as well. So you'll go, I guess.
Should I just go with the crowd and just intentionally not get it right? You can do app.person.create, and you can pass in a hash with any properties you want to override.
Correct. That's what I was looking for. Well played. Yeah. Boom. Was there any other way of doing it, or is that the only way?
As far as I remember, that's the only way.
Yeah, that's what I've got. Yeah. Cool.
Have you got any questions that you wanna farm out?
Yeah.
Oh no!
This is going to be a really tough one.
It is, isn't it?
No, it's basic. If you know jQuery, you should be able to.
Okay.
Fraser, it's all on you, sir.
Wheelhouse.
Okay. If there's a lot of anonymous function passing. Sorry, that's my phone. It's telling me not to ask the question, but I will anyway.
No worries.
If in jQuery there's a lot of select something on click and then pass in an anonymous function, right?
Yep.
Sure.
But for some strange reason, you might want to change the scope of that anonymous function, like this keyword inside of it, if you want it to reference some other object. Okay. How do you do that as opposed to the element that you actually clicked on? Like if you clicked on a button, this will reference the button.
Yep.
But if you want this to mean something else, how do you do that?
Oh.
I know how to do this in in JavaScript, because you just do a call on it and you pass in this before. This is jQuery specific.
Not necessarily, but So you can use it with jQuery. It's not very practical with jQuery, but you can use it.
I'm going to say, I say, I think it's dot call and then or apply. No, dot call. You pass in what you want this to be. No, because then you're going to
Actually, there's two ways of doing it. Just
could
pick
you,
what's in your mind. Just pick what you have in mind.
You couldn't just reassign the value as this. You couldn't put this equals and then change the value of what it is. I'm guessing that'd be too hacky. You couldn't do it that way.
To be fair, JavaScript is. No, I'm joking. Can you just pass it in as a second parameter?
Yeah, pass the what you want this to be. So pass the
Yeah, like it's almost like an optional parameter. Say, oh, by the way, I want this to be. Or do you have to wrap it in something to make it a special? Oh.
Yeah, that's along the right lines.
You've got to wrap it. Oh. Is it $apply $apply and then the function and then what you want this to be or something?
That's one way of doing it. Then you can you can have a self-invoking function that returns another function.
Then you put this in it. Oh wow, yeah, that's proper funky.
And or the most obvious one is you have this anonymous function inside wherever you're using it, and then just call the .bind and pass in the this parameter.
That's cool.
That's the easy. I don't actually remember the syntax for the first one, but that second one is the easier way. So, the curly brace for the closing function. You can actually call .bind on that, and then you pass in whatever this should be.
It's very cool.
See, that's the beauty of JavaScript. The beauty of JavaScript is it's so confusing and so flexible. And oh dear.
Yeah, I don't like it when you can do that kind of stuff. It's kind of like when you reset the values of true and false. Like I heard you can do that in some languages. In
JavaScript, undefined, you can redefine undefined, so people have to make undefined again. That's what you see always.
Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah, undefined. You can. You just set it again. You're like, oh yeah, undefined something now.
I don't know what they were thinking about.
Oh, it's one of those beautiful things where it's built in like a couple of days, like a week, and then they're like, yeah, we probably shouldn't have been done that.
It's all right, it'll work. It'll become the biggest thing on the web. We don't have to worry about that anymore.
That's the scary thing, because it has become the biggest thing on the web. And oh dear.
Yeah.
But it's in a sense it's good to have those quirks, because then you have something to talk about. Like, it's not a boring language.
That's a very good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, because it's an interesting language. It's got that kind of you can do it this way or you can do it that way, and then yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't say that in an interview, but yeah.
It's
good to have the quirks. I'm going to have a job for it. So.
Well, guys, I'm guessing we've gone over the hour mark, so we probably should wrap it up. But this has been an awesome episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been so cool having you on, Lamin. It's been really cool, and
it's an honor to be here as well. Really.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to kind of promote? Like, do you want to give out your Twitter or your YouTube account?
I'd say if anyone's interested in learning front end stuff. If you want to learn Ember specifically, you can go to youtube.com/thecodelogical. That's THE Code Logical. That's for learning Ember specifically. And if you want to learn just the usual jQuery, PHP, regular login scripts and all that, you can go to youtube.com/user/ls web apps. And those are the only two shameless plugs that I want to do.
No worries.
Not at all, so it's been awesome.
Nice. Yeah, it has been really good having you on. Appreciate you coming on and putting us to shame.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really impressed, man.
Now I feel ashamed now. I should. That backfired a lot. It backfired on me, definitely.
But you definitely have to come back on when your app goes live. Come back on, and tell us all about it and stuff, and you can look at that.
Okay.
That'd be awesome. Thanks again so much, man.
Yeah. So thanks for having me as well. Thanks.
Our pleasure. And we'll be back next week with a undecided topic at the moment, but quite possibly following our last week's topic, which was on what was it on? Exception handling, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and we did look at it. Sure. We did look a little bit at doing that with JavaScript as well. And actually, before I did that podcast, I was looking for more in-depth solutions. I thought maybe someone had like an error handling library or something like that. And it turns out that after that podcast, someone did actually leave some comments on there, and someone has got a library for that. Maybe not a library. He's got a solution for it, which is like a paid service that you can use, and it looks really good, which is Track.js. And I've been speaking to the guy who's made that, and he possibly might be coming on next week. If not next week, he'll be coming on some other time to talk about that. So that's a possibility for next week, but otherwise we'll be back with something else. So as usual, please do get in contact with any of your questions, any of your feedback, and anyone who wants to come on like Lamin has done today and really kindly given up his time to talk about something that you're passionate about. That'd be awesome. And the usual Twitter address. What are we again? Free Devs and Maybe?
Free Devs and Maybe. Yeah,
with
number
a number,
three.
yeah.
Number three.
That's the most awesome name ever. Do you guys mind just saying how that name came about? Because I'm curious, really.
Lewis. Lewis.
That was Fraser, I think, wasn't it?
I think it was a collaborative effort, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, it definitely wasn't me. I was the maybe in this whole thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, the story behind it, basically, or it was Michael's idea to get together and do a podcast in the first place, and then we were kind of like throwing around possible names and stuff, and we knew that we wanted. Well, the conversation was always let's do a podcast with the four of us, and then Ed was originally like, "Oh yeah, I'm not sure if I want to do this," and like. Yeah. Which we're kind of glad that he did do it because he brings all the technical knowledge and the kind of the educated experience anyway. So yeah, we were kind of like, oh well, if we don't know if Ed's going to do it, then we'll just call ourselves Three Devs and a Maybe, because if Ed doesn't turn up, then it works. If Ed turns up, then it still works. So it's
Oh, sweet, man. So it's basically a coincidental thing.
No, it's good.
Oh,
and so something as well that we've kind of been talking very sparsely about, but we've mentioned the possibility of maybe trying to sort out a meetup if anybody be interested in doing some kind of a meetup, whether that's in a pub in London or somewhere in Kent near where we are. It'd be just good to kind of get together and in a really informal setting, just get together, have a few beers with anybody that was interested in coming down with us, because we do it once every couple of weeks anyway. So yeah, it'd be great to talk. Talk dev with any people that are listening, or any people that have just got any interest in web development whatsoever. So yeah, it'd be good to build like a little community somewhere. So if anybody was interested in that, you drop us a line, let us know, and if there's enough people that are interested, we'll sort something out.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that's really good. Probably put in some contact info somewhere in maybe this episode. So
yeah, definitely. We'll have to put something in the show notes.
Definitely.
I've started stalking you all on Twitter already. So be aware.
I feel flattered. I'll stalk you back.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys. We will see you next week.
Perfect.
Cheers.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
You've been listening to Three Devs and a Maybe. You can contact us at contact@3devsandamaybe.com or follow us on Twitter at 3devs and a Maybe.